What's going on, Independent Threads family? Back at it finally again after a little bit of a break. So thank you for bearing with me as had a lot of things going on, but we're about to get it going again. And on today's episode, we've got Yoshi, and I will let him let you know where you can follow him later in the episode. But basically, doing something a little bit different where I want to start also bringing individuals in. As you know, I've talked to different brands, I've talked to people about their sneakers, but I'm also going to start talking to people who are into fashion, and finding out their stories behind that. And maybe you'll be able to pick up some tips, tricks, where to hunt for things, websites, physical places, what have you. And so we're going to kick off this first episode here with Yoshi. So appreciate you joining us tonight.
No problem, man. It's an honor to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. So, for those that don't know who you are, give the listeners and the watchers a little intro about who you are and how you got into fashion.
So, my name is Yoshi on the internet. In real life, my name is Tone. I am the third mic on the Villain Lairs Twitter spaces. That's where you guys
Absolutely.
might know me from with my homies John and Frankie. Uh, I'm also the contrarian of Twitter sneaker or sneaker Twitters, if you will. Always just challenging the thought process. Um, and that kind of is where I kind of got into fashion. I have an older brother who challenged my thought process personally, and he was a designer. And so that is my introduction to fashion, watching him learn how to sew, being his exclusive assistant on every single fashion show, as well as him getting me into being a model, me launching my own streetwear brand and seeing successes and woes in that. Uh, just a lot of different experiences, man. I have a lot of different background. I'm a man of many hats.
Okay, appreciate that. Now, so your brother's inspiring you. You're watching him sew. You know, as a male designer, um, were people around kind of saying, "Why are you sewing?" What's up with that?
Uh, yeah. When I was young, I just knew that my brother was really into detail. So we would watch movies together. Like, and it would usually be movies with like looking back at it now, I kind of see it, but it was usually like black female leads.
Okay.
So it would be What's Love Got to Do with It, Waiting to Exhale, things with Angela Bassett apparently. But we would we would watch these movies all the way until the end, and we would watch the credits because he would want to know who did the wardrobe, who was responsible for making all these different things. And then that kind of inspired me to start looking at things that way. So if I'm
Okay.
watching a TV show, I don't want to just say, oh, well, Jerry Seinfeld has really cool sneakers. It's like, who's dressing Jerry Seinfeld on the show, right?
Okay.
Um, and so from there, I remember there was a specific Christmas where I wanted a Sega Dreamcast and my brother wanted a sewing machine. And so we were a little bit poor. And
Okay.
so it was like one or the other. And my brother got the sewing machine. And I was disappointed. Luckily, my god brother, who was my next door neighbor, ended up getting a Dreamcast. So I was just going over there to play 2K. Everything worked out.
It worked out for
Um,
sure.
But my brother, what he would do is his first design was looking at his muses were a female lead. So it was Whitney Houston. And so what he would do is he worked on fashion sketches by taking out the artwork of albums and all the designer clothes that they would have for photo shoots within the artwork. He would then learn how to sketch that. And then from there, he would make these very, very crappy versions of it. It's because he was self-taught, and this is all the way back when he was in high school. So I'm watching this at like 11. He's 7 years older than me. So
Okay.
his senior year, he is accepted into art school. Um, and he starts his first clothing line, which I believe he called Diamond Life. He's gonna hate me if he sees this, but it's called Diamond Life, right?
Yeah.
And it was just swimsuits, and he was just figuring it out. And he went to school to learn how to make patterns. And to do like textile making and things like that. And this whole time, I guess I wasn't really paying attention to how much I was paying attention to it, but I was being very inspired, right? So now when I watch movies like Boomerang, I'm watching all the way to the end because I want to know, why is Eddie Murphy's suit fitting so well? Like, why does he seem like the coolest guy in the world every time he's in every scene, right?
Yeah, for
Or
sure.
like those examples. I'm watching a different world now with my brother who put me on, because I was a kid when that came out, but like I'm watching it now and it's like, did you notice that Ron dressed this way? Yeah, and then he'll just drop a random jewel on me because that's what he does. He flexes fashion knowledge on me randomly.
Okay. Okay.
Like, oh, you think you know it all? Well, did you know this? And then it's like, no, I didn't. Thanks. I'll be
Yeah.
sure to drop that on somebody else later, you know?
Yeah.
But
For
that's
sure.
my biggest inspiration. That's kind of how I got into fashion. He encouraged me to be myself,
Mhm.
along with like, and at that time, like Kanye had like came out and I was already an Outkast fan. And so for me, it was like my brother, Kanye, and Andre 3000 were like the coolest people in the world to me, along with like Deion Sanders. Like
Oh,
those were
Prime.
like my
Prime was it, man. He had every the shoot from the shoes to the jewelry to the fashion, man.
Yeah, I like to tell people like I get that Michael Jordan is everybody's GOAT, but if you were into football, you love Prime. Like he was the end all be all. He played every down, like special
Yeah.
teams touchdowns, catching touchdowns, defending and intercepting for touchdowns. Like he was the man. And the bandana.
The band, yes. And I wish I still had this. So I was walking the mall when I was in high school, and there was I think it was a sports, it was like a jerseys and card shop or something like that. And I'm walking by, and they've got a Cowboys jersey sitting on the counter, and it just caught my
Mhm.
eye. So I went in and I said, "What is this?" He said, "Oh, this is a reject." And I said, "What's wrong with it?" And it was a Cowboys jersey, and it was Troy Aikman, the 8, on all the panels except for the back panel. It had been mis-sewn at the factory, and it had Sanders on the back. And I said, "What you want for it?" He's like, $20. You can have it. And I was like, done. Bought it, and my goal was to have it signed, and it got ruined in a flood. And I
Yeah,
wish I kept that. That would have been fun.
yeah. I was just affected by the floods that hit the Midwest. All of my collection that was back home in Milwaukee got washed out.
No.
Yeah, so I lost about maybe 20, 25 pair. Uh, but it's all good because my family's good. So that's what's
Yeah,
up.
yeah.
I didn't really think about it until my mom hit me up about the insurance claim. She's like, hey, how much is all that stuff down there worth? I was like, it depends on
Oh.
who you're asking.
Are we looking at the StockX price or the friend price?
Well, I'm always gonna give homie price. So
Yeah,
it's for me. It was like, look, a lot of the things I gave away probably 30 pairs of shoes when I moved back to LA. It was all to coworkers or to charity.
yeah.
You know, a lot of my I went to like an office party and my coworker brought his friend, I mean his son, and his son was like, bro, I thought you were a model. I'm like, no, I'm no model, bro. I work in manufacturing with your dad. Like, but he complimented my shoes. So like when I left, his pops ended up going somewhere else. I was like, hey, I want to meet up with you so I could give him the shoes that he liked. Like he could just have them. I don't need them. Like,
Yeah.
it's just shoes, you know? It's just
At,
shoes.
at the end of the day, they are just shoes. I mean, some of them probably hold some sentimental value that you're not going to get rid of, but for the most part, yeah, they're just shoes. Absolutely. So earlier you mentioned you had started your own clothing line. Is that still going? Tell us a little bit about that, how that went.
Okay, so I started my clothing line. It was a small project that I probably was working on off and on for maybe a year and a half.
Okay.
And it was just a small capsule collection of crew neck sweaters and stuff like that. I really the mindset behind it was I had a group of friends from high school, and we were from like Brown Deer. If
Okay.
anybody's familiar with Milwaukee, that's like a little subdivision or a village called Brown Deer. And we used to call it Zone 3 because the East Side we used to call Zone 6, uh, as a ode to like Gucci and being from Zone 6, he's still in it. So the East Side was Zone 6, our side was Zone 3. And so I would make merch for our group, so I would randomly print up t-shirts or whatever so we could like wear shirts or whatever if we were bar hopping or something like that. And then I wanted to make the Zone 3 thing. So my initial design was I wanted to have something that was iconic. And I thought about the box logo for Supreme and how simple that was. I
Hmm.
didn't necessarily want to do like a knockoff, but I definitely just wanted something that was simple, that was a staple that could sell, right? It wasn't too hard to think about. And so what I did was I just took I went on custom ink just online, and
Hmm.
I just did some mock-ups or whatever, did some image manipulation, came up with my own variation of a box logo, and then I put it out, right? And I had success. I have no backstock whatsoever, everything. So, but I stopped because I didn't have control over the representation after I sold what I made. And so because I understood that, I know what you're thinking, like, what do you mean?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
um so for me it's not just about like making sure that people like the product. I'm fully confident in my designs, right? So I wouldn't put it out for retail for anybody to buy if I wasn't confident in that. The thing is, if someone's in my stuff, I would like them to present it in a way that will like make other people want to have my things. Unfortunately, everybody who was supporting me were friends and family who weren't necessarily looking at it that way. So yes, I love that you're supporting me, but I don't necessarily know that one, you're actually going to wear my shirt, right? So is
yeah,
anybody else going to see it? And then the second part is, what are you wearing with my shirt? Like, where are you going in my shirt? um a lot of the people were not necessarily going to the greatest places, or so I didn't want my brand to be linked to any nefarious activities or any crowds that I wasn't necessarily fond of. And so from there I was like, let me chill. And so from there I just kind of fall back and I just give kind of consulting to the homies that do have brands or whatever. They'll run over their ideas, ask me about samples and things like that, and I'll give my yay or nay, or maybe give constructive criticism on where they want to go with the brand. But as far as me, I know that's not my calling anymore. Like it's just not.
no, I can appreciate that, but that seems, I think, to the average person watching or listening to this, that they would say, but that's you can't always control who is in your brand, right?
Mhm.
As much as you would like to, you know, it's very once you get so large, it just is what it is, and I know that there are some things like the black Air Force Ones. That's everybody associates that now with, like you said, nefarious activity, and I don't think Nike has embraced it, but they also don't give it any. They don't breathe life into it, right? They just, if people are going to say that, they're going to say that, but we have nothing to do with that. Um, I think that's a hard thing to for a brand to get over, is knowing that if the wrong element latches onto it, it can be associated with that.
Yeah. Like for me, it wasn't necessarily like it was some of that. I won't lie. It was.
Yeah.
But for me, it was more so like a it's the Tommy Hilfiger thing, right? You
Yep.
remember how they lied on Tommy and said that he said he didn't want black people wearing his stuff when really it was Jabot. Like man, that was who actually said that.
Oh, for real? I didn't know somebody
Yes.
actually said that.
Yes, it was Jabot, and we love Jabot jeans. We love straps, especially in
Right.
the Midwest. Brand X jeans, some of the best denim you could buy, two for 80, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's that mindset of when you produce something, you do have an idea of how it is supposed to be presented. You have an idea of how you would like it to be seen or how you would like to come in contact with it in the wild. And when you consistently see the antithesis of that being like represented, it's like, I almost don't even want to make it because I don't want it to be manipulated at all, especially if it's going to be manipulated or worn that way.
Yeah. No, I
So,
hear you. I hear you. So, speaking of presenting your pieces in a way, you have an idea of how you want those pieces presented, and being a model. Have you done a lot of, say, shows, runway shows, things like that? And what is that experience like if you have?
all right. So the modeling has literally just been throughout high school, of course, helping my brother, working as a assistant to him doing casting. I was casted by other people who were also doing the fashion shows, usually just streetwear, walking for t-shirts, t-shirt line, streetwear brands like that.
Okay.
Um, there was that instance of being a different type of model for a little bit where I was doing underwear and swimsuit modeling. Uh, I
Great.
did that for it's about 6 to 8 months. But for the most part, my experience with runway is behind the scenes, getting the models dressed, getting them doing last minute alterations, pinning, things like that, making sure that the run of show goes well behind the scenes because a lot of people get to witness it from the crowd, but they have no idea of the chaos that goes on behind the scenes, all the last minute things that always happen, no matter how many times you cross your T's and dot your I's, something is always going to happen. And so for me, it was always being able to intercept problems behind the scenes before they happen.
Yeah. Yeah. Anybody who's done any event, no matter how much you've practiced, no matter how much you've tried to anticipate everything, many things invariably are going to go not necessarily wrong, but not as planned. And so you've just got to roll with it and figure it out. So, you've got the inspiration from your brother, you've got Dion, you've got these, different inspirations, but and I assume, as we're younger, we're looking at more of, your streetwear, your t-shirts, sweats, what have you. And then as you get older, your tastes kind of change. How has that evolution gone for you?
Um, I guess looking back at it, I think my evolution and my change has been mostly influenced by me being a church kid.
Okay.
So a lot of my fashion influences and the things that I picked up on was like watching church mothers with their big hats on Sundays, or watching the way the deacons always were well tailored suits. I like to think that the guys at our church were pretty fly. You know, they were well put together young men. We didn't always have it all together, but on Sundays we put on our best and
Yeah.
we try to present well. You know, and so that probably is the biggest influence outside of my brother. And then the evolution for me was always wanting to be able to go to church because I was doing other stuff. So I might have football practice, but what I wore to school had to be church presentable. So I have
Mhm.
to be able to do both, which is, I guess, is one of the reasons why I'm always telling people like have versatility within your wardrobe, right? There's a time and a place for everything. For me, I got arrested when I was 14. Um, After I had a fight at school and I got arrested, and I instantly thought about what I had on. And I
Mhm.
can't make this up. I had on a tall tee, a black tall tee with a black Bulls jersey, some black Air Force Ones, and some really baggy Sean John jeans. And I thought to myself, like, I never dressed like this, and I'm about to have a mugshot in these clothes. I look like a
Mhm.
thug. I
Yeah.
look like the stereotype. And that changed the way I looked at everything. From there on, it was more so I need to have casual shoes. Like I had casual shoes as a kid that I never wore,
Mhm.
but like it's important to understand. All right, cool. What are Clarks now, right? What's a Wallaby? What's a
Yeah.
Doc Martin? What's a Birkenstock? What are Sperry's? What's a Rockport? Right? So I start figuring that out, and then you can't wear those shoes with big jeans. You
No,
can, but you're gonna look crazy, right? And
absolutely.
so you get into, all right, let me try different jeans. All right. I was so shocked by that situation that I went the total opposite to where I was hanging out with the punk emo kids and the skaters. So I was rocking the first generation of skinny jeans, like the ones that
Mm.
were pretty much girl jeans, like
Yeah.
those. I went the total opposite way and I got in the Nike SB that way. I
Okay.
got in the Vans off the wall that way. I got into just a lot of these subcultures just based off of never wanting to feel like I felt that day I got arrested. And they took that mugshot of me in these like rapper clothes. I wasn't a rapper. I never dressed like that. And I was like, dude, the one day I get arrested, I look like this. I look like Fabo. Like I was like, dude,
Oh, come on now.
I look bad, man. I look like Soldier Boy. Like it was bad.
Yeah.
And so um after that, I got into shoes, right? And I started off with Vans. Like I said, we were poor, but my mom would like pay me like $20 every 2 weeks. And so I could
Mhm.
get a pair of Vans slip-ons, which were $40 once a month. And so I
Yeah.
would do it that way until I could get a job. So I had a nice Vans collection. And then I started getting compliments from the homies who skated, like, "Oh, bro, you got your Vans on. I see you." I'm like, "Okay, cool. I must be doing something right if the skater kids like it,
Yeah.
right?" Because I know the homies, they not really checking for Vans. They only checking for Jordans and Air Forces at that time, right?
Right.
And so there was a kid who I played football with. He would come to school with like the flyest stuff, but he worked at Finish Line. And I was like, "You're not buying these shoes from Finish Line. Where are you getting this stuff from?" And of course, he gatekeeping. He's like, "I can't tell you all that, man."
Oh,
And
come
so
on.
I begged him and bugged him for like 4 months, and finally, he took me to the store. It's a whole crazy story where like we got stuck on this like lifting bridge. It was crazy, but he took me to the store and I ended up hitting it off with like pretty much every single one of the employees to where I would just go down there and chop it up. And then they taught me about different levels of streetwear because I was used to Jabot and Coogee. And it was like, well, have you ever heard of the 100? Have you ever heard of Stussy? Do you know about Supreme? And I'm like, no, what are these things? He's like, oh man, you're not on it. You know how people would be like, man, let me school you. Let me give you
Yeah.
some taste, young man. And so it was this dude that worked at this store named Motor 3. His name was P Cool. His real name was Paul, but they called him P Cool. And that was pretty much like my style mentor. He put me on to like Nike ACG. He put me on to Crooks and Castles, Kid Robot. He taught me about vinyl, like the small toys and Funko Pops and stuff like that. Just a lot of
Yeah.
subculture stuff. So and then he was like, how about this? Come back to the store after hours. All right, bet, cool. I come back and then Bismarcky's there. And so now I get to be around these people who I normally wouldn't even think of ever meeting or shaking hands or being in the same vicinity of those people. But like P Cool looked at me and was like, well, you're always around. You're always asking questions. Like you should be at school, but you're not. Like, all right, well, let's just make the best of the situation. And so like I was always into fashion. Even when I was at school, if I wasn't in class and I had a study hall, I was using my study hall to go to like the computer lab and like make mood boards off of Karmaloop, just copying and pasting things and like putting like I was putting cool. Oh man, it was bad outfits. Like when I think really, really, really bad outfits, like all over print crew hoodies, like crew with the K from like the
Yeah.
CCS magazine. I was like putting those together with like famous stars and straps with like some all red pants and like some fire red fives. And I'm looking back at that, I'm like, ew. But like,
But it made you
you know,
better for today, though.
it did. And honestly, like a lot of the stuff that I was doing, like helped me with event setup, like mood boards, vision boards, storyboards, things like that. I was doing all that stuff,
Yeah.
making like doing fake photo shoots and fake stylings. And like, do you know how many times I applied to be a merchandiser at Old Navy? Because I was like, who dresses the mannequins? I just want to do that. I was like, dude, these mannequins suck. I can make these look cool, man. Like, I can make anything look cool. Just so I applied
Yeah.
every summer to be a merchandiser at Old Navy. Like, any
And
way
did
I
you
could
ever
get
get
into
it?
the industry. No, I ended up getting a job at this other store that was it was a streetwear store. And so they sold everything Coogee, uh, as we called it in Nietzsche, but I later found out was NYC. Uh, we we sold Echo, all these different brands, and I got fired from that job. They told me I wasn't hood enough, so I got canned. A little Korean man, ironically, told me I wasn't black enough.
I'm trying to figure that one out.
Right?
Nah,
I
that
don't know.
okay. All right,
You know what
whatever.
it was? So this what it was. I've always been a contrarian. So these guys would come in. It usually be like the trappers and the people who had like bigger budgets to be able to buy like $600-700 sweaters, right?
Okay.
So they would come in with their Air Forces, like one Air Force. I don't know if people still do this, but back in the day, like 2000, 2006 or whatever, they would come in with one shoe to try and like exactly color match their outfit to the shoe.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I would try to steer them away from it. Specifically, there was a St. Patrick's Day Air Force One that was like green with like a gold glitter undertone. And I was like, dude, you do not want to make this mistake. You do not want to look like the lucky pot of gold. I promise you. Like, you do not want to do this. Mind you, I'm like 16 talking to like this 32-year-old dude. And
Yeah.
he was like, you really feel like that? I was like, I really do. I'm telling you. I was like, ask your girl. Like that's always what I used to tell the dudes. Like, look, you don't have to
Yeah.
believe me. I get it. You don't want to hear some dude talk to you about how you as a dude is dressing. How about you just ask a lady? Because that's who really matters, right? And sure
Yeah.
enough, he brought his girl back. She was like, nah, the kid's right. Like, you look nuts.
What?
But the um the dude didn't like that because I ended up stopping to sell on one of the higher items. So he was gonna buy like an item that was like $800. I ended up showing him an outfit that totaled 800. And so he got the pants, he got a shirt, he got socks, a fitted, all these different things that he needed to build the fit for the total price of one piece. And he was willing to buy everything, uh, no matter the cost. And so they kind of sat me to the side, um, and they got me out of there. And that's when I went to go push carts.
That's wild because what you are teaching that older gentleman, they bought the fit, you're teaching him how to put a fit together. And he might have come back a month later, 2 months later, and bought that piece that was 800 by itself, but now he's got a different shoe to pair with it, and that's something that even I myself have gotten into lately is I will look at if I'm saying, I want to wear these sneakers today, I will pull up because I don't have it memorized, I will pull up the color wheel and look at the complementary colors on the other side and see like how can I make this work with what I have, and look at it different so I don't go around looking like the Jolly Green Giant or whatever else, right? And that's a skill that not a lot of people are thinking about when they're putting their fits together.
Nah, I think if somebody like me, sometimes you do it on purpose. Like one time, I think I put it on Twitter. I had the Vanilla Ice Blazers, and then I had a shirt. I just grabbed a quick shirt, right? And I was
Yeah,
like, I'm going out here looking like a slushy icy right now.
yeah,
But okay, let's do it. Complex Con, here we come. Or what was it? Family Food Fest or whatever. All right, cool. It's just one day. But I felt like when I got home, my wife was like, that was a bit much. I was like, I know, right? It felt good. It felt good.
yeah. Yeah. So what types of things are you hunting for these days? Are there certain pieces, certain looks that maybe you're looking for today?
Um, so as of right now, I am going back and hunting for specific releases from this year. So this year I took it really, really light on sneakers.
Okay.
I moved, so we moved here and then we moved into our own place. And then so I liquidated a lot of my shoes to be able to help, pay for that. And then so I want to reach back and get some of the things that, I was really excited about, but just didn't have the resources to get at the moment. So
Yeah.
probably like the Apron Air Max 180s is a shoe. Um, and then as far as pieces, dude, I'm not gonna lie to you. All the things that I enjoy never seem to come around. Like it's just really hard. Like so I'm looking for a lot of like maybe 2 or 3 seasons old Brain Dead stuff. I'm really into Brain Dead. I really, really like what they have going. That's one of my favorite brands.
Okay.
If anybody knows me, this is my brand. This is my cheat code right here. Honor the Gift by Russell Westbrook.
Okay.
Uh, Brain Dead, Pleasures, and probably either Jungle Jungle or Dire Starts Monday. Those are like my go-to brands that pretty much I construct my entire wardrobe out of. Right? And then if I need to dress up a little, I'm probably just gonna go to Zara because it's easy that way, like
Yeah.
fast fashion sometimes. But I really love Branded because they're a brand of just subculture. Like they do Magic the Gathering tournaments, right? They have a rock climbing competition that they do a couple times out the year. They have Sound and Fury, which is like the biggest like hardcore rock festival that they do. Apparently the owner just got into tennis because they're doing all of their Adidas tennis stuff, right?
Okay.
So they've introduced me to a lot of different bands, a lot of different music, and exposed me to a lot of different cultures just being a fan of their clothing because it's like, oh, well, that's a wonky graphic. What is this? That's literally how it came about. And then I started learning, found out they had a movie theater. So I just might go down there and just like last weekend they had a Godzilla marathon, and then they had their exclusive toy raffle. Like just random cool nerd stuff. I love that, right? Same thing with Pleasures. Pleasures is a little bit more racy, so I can't really wear that stuff around kids as much as I would like. You
Yeah.
might see a boob or something, but I enjoyed them. And then like my favorite brand is probably the Honor the Gift, only
Hmm.
because I really appreciate Russell Westbrook's style journey from him coming into the league. And then you could tell he had just been exposed to all these different Japanese designers and it just wasn't quite hitting right. But then he honed in on his own personal style and really got confident in what he was doing. And now his clothing is really a good extension of who he is and what he sees as cool right now. The cuts are a little stiff. I wish there was a little bit more relaxed cuts, but honestly, that's kind of Russ. Russ is a seems a little bit no nonsense.
No,
So
oh no, he don't. Everything I've ever seen from him, he don't take a bunch of mess.
yeah, another thing I enjoy about the brand is Russ is really involved in LA. As
Mhm.
far as like his charitable things. One of my projects that I worked on when I first moved out here and got with the company that I'm with was a school. It was like a little boarding school in the inner city. And so it was called Seed. What Russell Westbrook is doing is he's investing around the community to uplift that, right? So those kids are going to be there 6 days out the week, but he's building additional facilities, whether it is I know they already have a soccer field on the roof of the school, but like he's putting like basketball courts on the for like a resource center, gyms, all that stuff he's paying for. So he's like really invested in the community. And I really see like his fingerprints on the city with his brand. And that's the one thing I enjoy about him. Like when you see him, he's actually like doing good stuff. I think that's why people mess with John Geiger.
Yeah. he does the same thing out in Pittsburgh. He's always out there representing Pittsburgh, no matter where he is, and then always giving back to the community. That's a big reason why I support, as much as I can for him. And Russ, maybe he's had a different perception for me, just in his time in the NBA. But I'll tell you, this conversation has made me say maybe I need to look at that a little bit differently and look at his brand too.
He has come a long way.
Yeah,
Like I remember those tunnel walks in the beginning. I think everybody was kind of figuring it out, and so like the more clean cut guys kind of stood out. Your Serge Ibaka's, your Chris Paul's,
yeah,
Carmelo. They were just doing business casual, well good, a lot of cashmere, just really clean stuff. Russ was really wearing a lot of at the time cutting edge silhouettes, right? So he was
mm,
wearing a lot of undercover, he was wearing a lot of capital, he was wearing a lot of Comme des Garçons. And I don't think people were really knowledgeable to see what he was trying and attempting to execute, right? Even I didn't at the moment. I'm like, what is he doing? This is whack, right?
yeah,
But then I go back and I look at it, I'm like, oh, he was just exposed to it. It's no different than how we see it with rappers. Like rappers come out, they don't have a chain, right? Then they blow up. Then they get invited to like the Met Gala, Paris Fashion Week. All of a sudden, they're Balenciaga, Margiela this. It's like, bro, you were just white tees like 6 months ago. What happened?
yeah.
Right.
Uh, I mean, the biggest example I see of that is ASAP and his Puma line. My son he came running up like, "Hey, check this out! Look what he's doing with Puma," and they look at him, for their inspiration. And my son is 14, and that's where they look. And I think if he was more into sports, look at Shea, because he's always into something. His silhouettes of what he's wearing is different than the clean cut looks or whatever. And I appreciate it because it is different.
Yeah. Shay got on my radar when he wore the big red boots. Cause
Mm,
he was like one of the only people that did it and it didn't look crazy. It just looked like a fit. And I was like, okay,
yeah,
all right, I
yeah,
gotta put some respect on his name. Like,
for
all
sure.
right. I've definitely thought that was like a novelty item that nobody was going to be able to pull off.
Yeah, I have seen very few do it. Very few. I'm gonna have to go back and look up his fit for that because I don't recall seeing that one.
Yeah. It's I think he wore some low A jeans. I think the whole entire fit was actually that.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay,
So it was really good. I enjoyed the basketball players. I don't think I'm one of those guys who I don't think everybody deserves to get the tunnel walk treatment. I think that should be reserved for people who no, I'm serious. um, I think a lot of times we use these athletes or brands use athletes as vehicles, but they're just attaching it to dust buckets and lemons. Like, make sure if you're going to attach it to a vehicle, make sure it's a Ferrari. Don't
yeah,
do it if we're just doing a regular Chevy Taurus or like Ford Taurus, it's not going to work. So like, and I think a lot of people are way more ambitious um, than what their execution level is. So
mm,
you got somebody like Milwaukee's own Kyle Kuzma right now. Kyle Kuzma was wearing some wild things in the tunnel. And it's like, all right, bro, you go to fashion shows. I can tell.
yeah.
But I think there's a disconnect between his ambition and his execution. And that
Okay,
just comes with, either it comes with the stylist or that comes with time and studying and falling down, getting back up, saying, all right, cool, I felt comfortable in this. I did not feel comfortable in that, right? There's times
yeah,
where I get lots of compliments in something, but I personally feel very uneasy about everything that I have on. I will never wear that fit again because it's about how I feel in it. It's
oh,
not
for sure.
necessarily about the compliments, right? If you look good and feel good, that's the best way to execute.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think sometimes something very simple. It doesn't have to be a Mason Margiela or some high fashion pieces. But if you feel good in it and it's put together well, um, that can make all the difference,
Mhm.
in the fit. So, something I've heard in our conversation is, curiosity. What are, you seem to be someone who, when you want to learn something, you kind of attach to it and really get into it. What in fashion are you recently or currently trying to learn more about?
Um, so not necessarily directly tied to fashion. What I'm getting into is going back and looking at anime and manga uh designs, just the wardrobe designs of the characters, and seeing just where I can draw inspirations from fits. Like there's like shows like Cowboy Bebop
Yeah.
that are legendary animes. But like when you look at the character design, it's like, nah, that had great thought put into those outfits. And we just talk about cartoons, but it's like when you think about it, it's kind of fashion sketches. These character
Yeah.
designs are fashion sketches, right? And so I remember, was it like 2012 or whatever? We started seeing like Supreme Goku popping out and stuff like that, like the
Mhm.
Vegeta fit with Supreme head to toe, photoshopped on. But like I got to thinking like, I wonder how much of that has actually influenced the way I look at fashion, right? And so right now, I'm working on a list of anime that is fashion driven. And it really just came from a random reel on Instagram. And I was like, that's interesting. Let me Google this. Fashion based animes. All right, cool. Top five fashion based animes. All right, cool. These five. All right, which ones have manga, right? Long running mangas, right? So I'll figure out which ones have long running mangas. That way, maybe there's different designs of this specific character. So I might get multiple outfit changes throughout the arcs of this
Mhm.
show, right? Little stuff like that. So I'm working on that. And then also, um, I am really, really, really looking into maybe doing a small documentary on the impact of the Black church within Black fashion. I think
Okay.
that's untapped potential. Like, and what got me into that was I read Andre Leon Talley's book and the way he references his grandmother and how well she was put together. It really reminded me and made me think of like the deacons, the church mothers that I went to a lot of church. I was a church kid. So like my mom didn't wear like pants. Like so she had like a denim skirt collection out this world. I tease her about it now because she's like, I can't believe I wear all that denim. But like every Friday there was a brand new skirt, or she would go to the Goodwill and find something brand new and hem it up. Right, my brother would hem it up actually because he's my brother, so he's like, let me do it, or I don't like the way this fits, can I take it in? And then my brother would do the alterations like that. And
Okay.
so, and then my father was the guy who showed up to every single church. Every time we had to go to church he was there, but he wasn't there. I'd be like, yo, where's dad? He'd be like, I think he's out making sure that nobody steal cars outside. I'm like, all right, I guess. Like he's the deacon that's just like on parole. Like, all right, bet,
Okay.
just do you. But one thing about my dad was he taught me how to put a suit together, right?
Mm.
One thing he taught me about was like the proper tailoring, the different cuts. He actually like unintentionally put me on to British tailoring because he was talking about he kept on talking about Men in Black. Not Men in
Yeah.
Black, but Bad Boys, right? He kept on talking
Okay.
about Mike Lowry, and then he was like, "Dude, this the suit on Bad Boys." Mike Lowry puts it on, and it's like the whole camera kind of spins. It's just like eggplant suit. Mind you, my dad has never used the word eggplant to describe a color ever. So obviously he was talking to my brother about it too,
Yeah.
right? And so I'm like, all right, cool. Let me watch the movie. Let me figure out who made this suit. It ends up being Oswald Boateng, who's a great uh tailor. He's a classically trained tailor, right?
Mm.
Who and he also has a documentary. So I watched the documentary on him. I found out like, all right, bet he was like the first black person to be creative director of Givenchy menswear. So it's like, all right, that's cool. I have that in my back pocket, a little bit of knowledge about him. But then I find out that he's African and that his personal suit lines has a lot of ties to his heritage. And so he uses a lot of deep colors, but a lot of the same patterns that his village used where he's from. So, oh, this guy's dope. I love
What's his name
this.
again?
Oswald Boateng.
Okay. Gonna be looking that up. Absolutely. Uh,
Yeah, great. It's a great doc. Like somebody damn near sabotages and steal his collection like right before, so he has to scramble. Like it's crazy. It's a crazy doc, but I definitely recommend it. That's like one of the pastimes that me and my wife do. We watch fashion docs together. So
okay. Okay. Oh, so y'all be when y'all go out for a night on the town, you're the ones everybody's looking at.
look, my whole goal is to make sure I don't look bad next to her. If someone takes a picture, I compliment her. That's always the goal.
There you go. There you go. So getting kind of near the end here, if there was one piece that you could have in your closet that maybe you don't have today, what would that one piece be?
All right. Shoes. It would be
Okay.
Nike SB Blazer, milk crate.
Okay.
If it was an article of clothing, okay, I want, uh, I would love just one of the pieces from Kid Super's Louis Vuitton collection.
Okay.
I believe that to be probably the best collection since Virgil passed away. That's
Mhm.
me personally. And I love his design language. And I think that he he did Kid Super, but he elevated it to a French fashion house level, and I don't think that has been acknowledged the way it should be. Um, so for me, it would definitely be a particular. I can't. Maybe there. I believe there is a note he made. It's like a couture, like a note suit, right? And it looks like just a whole bunch of pages, of pieces of paper. I would
Okay.
probably do that. I don't know where I
Okay.
would wear that, but it would just be framed in the closet somewhere, maybe in a corner in my living room in a mannequin. And then we're
Yeah.
just gonna do it like that with the lights rotating. Like, like we just gonna do it like that. Like that piece is crazy.
All right.
Dude, man, you know what though?
What's up?
There's a lot of good pieces. Like I can't as soon as you said that, like I went blank, but there's a lot of good stuff, bro. Like a lot of good stuff.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Uh
Like what's going through your head right now? Because I can see the wheels turning.
dude, I'm just thinking about a lot of this brain dead stuff that I can't find. Like they all right, so what they do is they got this thing where they do like awkward cuts of jackets. So like it might be a random billowy pocket that is obscure, but it just looks good when everything is put together.
Okay.
I tell you, all right, look, so one brain dead piece, it's brain dead makes these clogs, right? And I had a pair, but I sold my pair when I was moving to help, right?
Yep.
I would get there's an original pair of them before they did the updated version. The updated version has a little bit more padding. It has a padded sole. The original version just is completely handmade wood clog. I would
Okay.
get that, but there's a specific brain dead one where it's like it's like yellow, green, and blue in a weird texture and color. I would get those. They never made them in a size 45. So I would
Mm,
make them in my size, and I would buy those, and I would wear them until they fell apart.
okay.
Like
Okay.
that's an everyday wear thing. That I miss my clogs, man, and they don't come out with them anymore. So it's like, oh crap,
Oh,
I just got to go to Second Street.
yeah. The Second Street Sherman Oaks. I really like that one.
That's literally 3 minutes away from where I live.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
that one. When spend time in LA, there are days where me, the wife, and the kids, we will, go down Fairfax, but then we'll hit up a bunch of the second streets to see what we can find.
if you have time. Uh, what's your favorite store that you go to when you're here?
Um, when I'm in LA, gosh, honestly, I like doing the second street hopping. Like I really do, and I'll dig in there, and I've most of the time previously, I was always looking for sneakers, just something that
Mhm.
was in my size that I could get on a good deal. Those are becoming fewer and fewer these days because I think the vintage shops have gotten hip to it, and
Yeah,
I'm not saying they're overpricing them. They're probably pricing them more appropriately, so you can't find those super deals anymore. But then, and I put this out on the X timeline not too long ago when I was getting ready to go somewhere. I have over indexed in like streetwear T-shirts, um, and realized like I don't have even slightly elevated piece. Like I've got my stuff for work. I'm wearing suits at work, but I don't have that middle ground. It's just too far on both ends of the pendulum, right? And
mhm.
so now I'm starting when I go in there, I'm going to start looking for those pieces, whether it's a pair of pants or a sweater or a different kind of tee or something, so I can put those types of fits together.
My favorite store to go to,
Yeah.
Dover Street Market.
I have never been there, and you had said something about that maybe in one of the spaces, but that is something that I want to do is go through
Yeah,
there.
it's actually located in a nice place. It's maybe like if you go there, you could juice store is closed. I was gonna say you could hit up Clott's store. They have some good stuff in there, but I think it's closed now.
Okay.
But that's also not too far from Bodega as well. So like they're all in like maybe a 5 minute drive from each other. But I love Dover Street because they have actual installations.
Okay.
Um, and they it's a weird marriage between like fashion house, high fashion. They have a couture type section, which is super, super elegant. And
Okay.
then in the back area, there's just streetwear because you got Supreme and you got Palace, you got Brain Dead, you got all these different things. And it's a beautiful marriage of these different demographics who are into very niche designers, but they all get their share of the pie. And then you get a good scone and some coffee, and it's perfect, like a really good latte. And I was like, I've never been to a store that has coffee. That's actually good. And I was like, all right, cool. And then I noticed that that might just be a LA thing. Like you go to Brain Dead, they had a cafe in the back that sold mid food. It wasn't great. They sold like glizzies and stuff like that. And then you had where Bodega is, that little area does a with it's called Smorgasbord, which is basically a food festival, and it's like a
Yeah.
mini vintage market every Sunday. So you go
Okay.
down there, you go eat really unhealthy, then you go to Bodega, And I don't know if you got a chance to go to Bodega, but like their setup is really cool. Like I walked past it 17 times before I found the store.
Oh,
Like because the
like you were
setup is
trying to
literally,
go there and kept walking past it.
yeah, I couldn't find the door. I just saw really good, well-dressed people outside chilling. I'm like, I don't want to ask these guys, but like, hey, do you know where Bodega is? He was like, yes, right here. So he points, and I just see like a garage door with a whole bunch of like stuff in there. I'm like, this looks like trash. So I walk in a little bit further, and I'm like, wait a minute. They did say bodega is set up like a bodega. So I start seeing fruit and I start seeing like random like cartons, and I'm like, oh, okay, I'm in the right place. And then I go back out and get my wife. I'm like, it's right here. Right. And then I go in. And that store is pretty cool too. I know that they were going through some, so the store was shut down for a little bit, but I'm happy
Right.
that they're back up and doing their thing.
So, well, definitely next time I'm out there, I had intended to do it. I was out there back in October, and I intended to do it then, but uh, just time went by too quick. So next time I'm out there, definitely plan to go down in that area and hit up some of those places. But hey, I've really appreciated our time together. But before we get out of here, uh, where can people find you?
Ah, so you can find me on Instagram at my name is Tone. That is all. That's very straightforward. My name is Tone on Instagram.
All
King
right.
underscore Yoshi G on Twitter. And that is all my socials. I keep it nice and simple. I'm not on TikTok yet because I'm not making content no more. So
Okay. All right. Yeah. This you're probably better for it. You've got a lot more time in your day than the scrolling on there.
look, I've been playing Arc Raiders, man. And so that's my vice right now. So I've been
Okay.
gaming, watching anime, and watching the timeline to make sure that we're reporting on the good stuff in the layer. Make sure you guys check the Villain Layer on Twitter every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Central,
Yeah.
and 8 p.m. Eastern. Mountain
All
time, y'all got to figure that out.
right. Absolutely. Hey, it's a good time. The layer is a good time. And remember, it is satirical. It is just for jokes.
Yes, we only joking.
Yeah.
Only
Right.
jokes.
Appreciate you, Yoshi.
All right, man. Thank you for having me, man. Blessings.
Absolutely.